Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. Man, it's been a couple days since I recorded an episode, but I'm back. If you've already seen the thumbnail, as I always state, then you know exactly what direction I'm headed into with this particular episode. It surrounds one NBA legend, Dwyane Wade. And before I jump into the content for today, if you haven't done so already, do me a huge favor, like this video. Liking the video will obviously help us cruise along algorithm avenue, where this content can get in the presence of individuals just like yourself who are searching for, namely NBA content. Also, subscribe to the channel. I think we're slightly under like 300 subs, man. So still growing steadily, which I can appreciate. But subscribe to the channel as well for more content such as this. Man, I'm jumping right into it. Today's episode is entitled D Wade Admits His Biggest Regrets. Man, I just feel like, obviously without a Last Dance kind of docu-series because of, or by virtue of the era that we find ourselves in, you know what I mean? Like this dispensation of time with all the podcasters and, you know what I mean? The podcasting and the different interviews swirling around, et cetera, et cetera. We're privy to a lot of information, kind of behind the scenes type information that you typically only get in documentaries. And so those in the independent media space kind of chronicling a lot of the happenings, as they're happening in the moment. This isn't necessarily one of those happening in the moment solely. It's kind of a look back, and a kind of peek under the curtain of some things that maybe we knew but forgot, or maybe some things that are kind of adding context because of new information being shared. But that's where I'm at in this particular episode. I have an article that I want to share with you, or two articles rather, that I want to share with you, and digging into D Wade admitting his biggest regrets from basketballnetwork.net. So I was just kind of scrolling through and, reading some articles today, and I just found these most interesting. So I thought, like it would be a great idea to share it. So, let's get right into that. At other times, we felt he could have been a better leader, according to Michael Carter Williams on D Wade's time in Chicago. The story is by Oral Dizon of basketballnetwork.net. It was published somewhere around today or yesterday. It's at 12 hours when I found it. So D Wade's Hall of Fame career was far from perfect. He may have won 3 championships and established his place in the annals of the NBA, but the Miami Heat legend also made plenty of questionable decisions. Joining the Chicago Bulls might have been one of them. After failing to see eye to eye with the Heat front office in the 2016 offseason, Wade chose to sign with his hometown team. Unfortunately, despite playing with talented teammates, his Bulls tenure didn't go as expected. According to former teammate Michael Carter Williams, Dwyane was seen as one of the leaders on the roster, but may have failed to fulfill that responsibility. Sometimes Wade seemed frustrated, said Michael Carter Williams, who played for the Bulls in the 2016-2017 season, when asked about Wade being a bad locker room guy. He was injured a lot and spent a lot of time rehabbing, so we didn't always get reps with him in practice. He'd get frustrated about not getting the ball in the right spots, and we'd feel like we didn't have enough practice with him to figure it out. Wade was passionate about winning. He wanted to address problems, have conversations, and resolve things. There were moments where he led by sharing his experiences and trying to guide us. At other times, we felt he could have been a better leader, Williams added. Sounds to me like, D Wade in his aging state became the kind of guy who was like, man, well, let me tell you how we did it back in Miami. You know what I'm saying? Like, da-da-da. And the young boys weren't trying to hear that shit. That's what that sounded like to me. The infamous 3 alphas. Chicago has so much potential in the 2016-2017 campaign, as D-Wade teamed up with Jimmy Butler and Rajon Rondo. There were concerns about how they could make it work, given that all of them were most effective with the ball in their hands. Even Michael Carter Williams knew the presence of those two made things more complicated. Rondo thought of naming themselves the Three Alphas, which, in hindsight, was a bad omen. Even though the point guard recognized Butler as the top dog, a pack that has more than one alpha just wouldn't work. That's precisely what happened to the Bulls. The lack of chemistry hounded them all season, despite the plethora of summer additions, including former Rookie of the Year Carter Williams. They appeared to lack direction and leadership. Wade and Rondo, both of whom carry championship pedigree, were supposed to help in those areas. Even Butler should have done his part in bringing the squad together, but he was busy feuding with their then coach, Fred Hoiberg. Jimmy had his own shit going on. Consequently, Chicago floundered to a 41-41 record, one fewer win than the previous campaign, but it was enough for the team to secure the number 8 seed in the playoffs. Wade could have vindicated himself by steering the Bulls to a deep postseason run. However, after they went up 2-0 against the Boston Celtics in the first round, Rondo, who had been playing well in the series, went down with an injury. Flash was unable to compensate for the loss, and Chicago lost 4 straight. Flash was unable to compensate for the loss. I find it interesting that this article would say, because D-Wade was just one of the members of the team. It wasn't just Flash who failed to compensate for the loss. It would have been Jimmy Butler, Michael Carter Williams, and everybody else who was on that roster. Funny how D-Wade's getting the blame, though. Breaking up the band. After just one season together, the players went their separate ways. Butler was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Rondo signed with the New Orleans Pelicans, and Wade sought a buyout with the organization to reunite with LeBron James on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Unlike his Bull stint, where he wanted a leading role and failed at it, the 2006 NBA Finals MVP decided to take a back seat in Cleveland. He even asked then coach Tyronn Lue to move him to the bench in favor of J.R. Smith when he struggled as a starter. Unfortunately, even that didn't result in good success for the Cavs, and the organization underwent a roster changeup in the middle of the season, with Wade heading back to Miami. Anyway, I wanted to share that article because it just touched on some things that, again, for me personally, I've forgotten about. For whatever reason, his Dwyane Wade being his stint in Chicago was, or is, even presently for myself, like kind of a blur. And that's because it only lasted one season. So now it stands to reason why when I was reading the articles, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He only stayed out there for 1 year. And then after that one season, you know what I mean? Like moved over to Cleveland. But that stint is also a blur, even more of a blur. Like I can't even remember, watching Cleveland Cavalier games where, D-Wade was in uniform. I just can't find it in my memory banks for whatever reason. And that probably is because mid-season, before I could even get a chance to really get into, based on what was televised and what wasn't, and you know what I mean, how the schedule was working out. But before I could even get into, watching him, he was gone back to Miami. He was shipped back to Miami. And so, again, I just kind of wanted to bring that up in this, episode where I'm talking about D-Wade admitting his biggest regrets. Clearly, in that article, he admitted to nothing. Oh, but I have another article for you guys, also from Basketball Network, that I want to get into. Let's get into that one. It's going to be an item on my resume that's hard to understand. Dwyane Wade shares what he regrets about joining the Cavaliers. D-Wade knew LeBron was planning to go to LA, but he never knew the Cavs would be open to trading him. This article, again from basketballnetwork.net, was written by John Jefferson Tan, May 26, 2023. So this is an old article that kind of bridges the gap between the one that was just shared and D-Wade's admission. Dwyane Wade will forever be remembered as the greatest Miami Heat player ever. Just when it looked like he was about to take Jimmy Butler under his wing in Chicago, LeBron James recruited him to join the Cleveland Cavaliers. Stating the obvious, the idea was to help James win another NBA championship with the Cavs. However, the team traded Wade back to Miami in exchange for a heavily protected second-round pick. That deal made D Wade regret his decision to sign with the Cavs. If I had known that, if I had known that was going to happen, the trade, I wouldn't have signed there, Wade told The Athletic in 2018. It's going to be an item on my resume that's hard to understand, but it happened. And narratives are important. People being able to make sense of some of these things and as they go back and kind of look at things are going to be important. Just looking at a stat sheet, looking at, the back of a basketball card, logging on to basketballreference.com and just looking at a 12, 13, 14-year career and numbers that are listed beside it don't give context. And so that's what D Wade is worried about here. D Wade knew LeBron was leaving right from the jump. Wade said he was adamant about joining James in Cleveland despite their deep friendship because even before rumors swirled that LeBron was taking his talents to the Los Angeles Lakers, D Wade already knew it was the Kings' ultimate goal. It wouldn't make sense for Wade to be left in Cleveland, but he decided to come in first and discuss the matter after the season. Unfortunately, Wade didn't even get to finish his first season with the Cavs. So, there's this old saying that goes, the same way you get her, the same way you're going to lose her. You know what I'm saying? And patterns are patterns, man. So, it's super funny about the happenings with Dwyane Wade, with LeBron then courting him to Cleveland, kind of like, oh, let's get the band back together. You know what I mean? Sort of a thing absent Chris Bosh, but just for them to team up rather outside of Miami to do so in Cleveland. Clearly, Dwyane Wade was a shell of himself, wasn't the same, player that he was in Miami. In fact, we saw a decline, of his talent as the years went on, even as he and LeBron and Chris Bosh, were seeking not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, championships in Miami. So I just find it interesting that LeBron would, court D Wade to Cleveland, right? Like, yo, bro, you should come sign here. You know what I mean? Like, or let's get you over here, or what have you, and then not go to bat for him to remain in Cleveland for at least the duration of the season. A second round pick as a trade, as trade collateral means that they still did not replace the player being D Wade for another player in this trade. So D Wade could have added something, to that team in Cleveland. Well, apparently he wasn't adding enough. And his cohort, being LeBron James, didn't go to bat for him to keep him there, man. I just found that interesting, personally. LeBron, first of all, he's a guy who always plays his cards close to his vest. But I knew his ultimate goal was to be in Los Angeles, where he revealed. He recruited me and he talked to me about signing there, being Cleveland. And I said, listen, I know you might not be there long. You're going to be a free agent, and there are some things that might happen, and we'll have a conversation. I just thought I'd make it through the season first. It was a fun ride, after all. Before joining the Cavs, Wade finished his first full season with the Chicago Bulls, averaging 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. As a role player in Cleveland, he never came close to that tally. Looking back, Wade is well aware that his stint with the Cavs was nothing more than underwhelming, but he still sleeps soundly at night knowing he at least made a couple of friends in that organization. I know I filled my role while I was there as a veteran and a leader, Wade concluded. At least I can say I made some really cool relationships with the people who were there. Wow. So again, I just wanted to highlight, those articles because I feel like obviously they're laden with some kind of filler information, about the situations that, maybe, some didn't know. I feel like looking back is always a good way to kind of, like make some sense of some things as you get information to kind of fill in the gaps. Dwyane Wade's got his own podcast now. a lot of things that are coming up as truths about kind of the behind the scenes and inner workings of some of the things that happen over time with and within the Miami Heat organization as it pertains to LeBron. A lot of the moves that were made as it pertains to his career, being D Wade's career, you know what I mean, and the decision for LeBron to leave and how he did not reveal that to D Wade. He just kind of up and left the organization high and dry, leaving also his best friends and his cohorts high and dry as well. Same thing happened to D Wade as he went to join forces with LeBron and the Cavs. So D Wade expresses his regret, man. He regrets joining the Cavs, and overall, as an aging superstar, as an aging player, man, I feel like I've long felt like D Wade just kind of went out bad. You know what I mean? But I was happy to see him return to Miami. I didn't really fully understand the factors of why he had gone back, or how that had transpired. So this is just added some filler information for me. Of course, my reason for bringing that up was to jog my own memory. But I know that the one thing that I know for sure is that I don't know everything, right? And I can go back and do some research. But I'm going to open up the comment section here. I want you guys to comment your opinion on what I've just shared. And also, help me fill in the gaps. There's some things, of course, that I may have forgotten that, I can probably go back and look at to create a part 2 to this episode. So remind me of some of the things that I've forgotten about the situation here. If this is your first time hearing about the situation, just share with me your comments as well. That's been the basis of this episode. I was going to be before you very long today. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Blessings.